we just hit 100 subscribers. That is such an amazing achievement, and I just want to thank all of you guys that have subscribed to me, because otherwise I couldn't be making this video. So thank you so much, and I will now be answering eight questions that people asked me on my Instagram, and then I will be doing a part 2 later in the week, answering the other 8 questions. So keep a lookout for that, and just enjoy this video and let's get into it. Thank you again. So this first question is from Theo, and he asks, how long does it take to grow lettuce in the O garden? And the answer to that is roughly about 2 months if you want them to get really big. So they start off in the seedling cabinet rather small for about 2 to 4 weeks, and then we move them up into the wheel and they get really big, and then we harvest them and eat them. And all in all, it's around about 2 months, as I said. It can be slightly less, but then the lettuces won't be as big, and you can leave them for longer and then they'll get really big, but 2 months is enough for them to be a very good size. So I hope that answers your question. The next question is from Guy, and this one says, where do you see this channel in the future? And that is a very good question, actually. It took me quite a while to think about this. And to be honest, I hope that it does very well and that I get a lot more subscribers and a lot more popularity. But to be honest, I'm just doing it for fun, as I want to share my experience with all of you so that you can learn as I present. And it's also just fun what I do, gardening and growing food, which I'll probably start next year when spring starts. I hope that also answers your question. Very good question, by the way. And this next question is from Johnny, and he asks, what plants are you looking forward to growing in the future? And now this is a really good question, because there are lots of plants I'm looking forward to growing, especially next year, and so I'm just going to share a few with you now. So first of all, I'm really looking forward to growing potatoes, as I've always thought they're very fun, like digging them up when they're finally ready. And then I'm also going to grow broad beans, which I grew last year. And then I'm going to grow lettuces, and which I also grew last year. And then I'm going to try growing Swiss chard and runner beans and dwarf French beans and peas, all of which I haven't yet properly grown yet. And then I might also try some beetroots and maybe some kohlrabi, as I've heard they're really nice to grow and they also look really nice. And then finally I'm going to grow some carrots, maybe some mustard and some pak choi and some spinach. And I have a really good book that lets you put all of that in a tiny bed in 1 year, and so I'll be putting all of those different things in my vegetable bed next year, so you can keep a lookout for videos in which I'll be planting that next year. So the next question is from Mariella, and she asks, what's your favourite thing that you've planted? And the answer to that is probably most likely either the marrows, which I grew a while back and they got so big and I grew so many of them, or the sunflowers, because I just love when you've got a massive head full of seeds and you harvest them and you can just pull out all the little seeds. It's very nice and relaxing. So I hope that answers your question. So the next question is from Gabriel, and he asks, what made you want to start gardening? And now this as well is a really good question. And the answer is, to be honest, nothing in particular. I've just always had a nice connection and sense of purity with nature and planting, and when I was a bit younger I started growing food, not particularly well, and I didn't have that much knowledge, and so I stopped after a little while, but I've always had that kind of connection with nature and plants and trees. And then about 6 months or so ago I properly started growing vegetables and other things, and now I've loved it, and I've taken inspiration from other gardeners and YouTubers alike, and yeah, so nothing in particular made me want to start. I just kind of saw growing food and gardening as a fun thing to do, and then just started and carried on. So I hope that answers your question. And this next question is from Ted, And he asks, what's the most exotic plant you've ever grown? And the answer to that is probably either a marrow, though you might not consider that exotic, or what I've just started growing in the O garden is ring of fire chili peppers. So they are probably the most exotic thing I've ever grown. I hope that answers your question. So the next question is from Rosie, and she asks, is it something that's quite expensive, or can anyone do it? And really, it's not expensive if you don't want it to. There are lots of free and sustainable other methods you can do. For example, like in my latest video, instead of using landscape fabric, I use cardboard and stones I'd collected. And actually doing gardening, it's not expensive at all. You just get out there yourself and start. Perhaps getting like tools and equipment is expensive. It can be expensive sometimes, but if you invest in good tools in the beginning, they can last years and years while you get on with other freer and more sustainable gardening uses. So yeah, it can be expensive, but there are lots of other ways that you can work around that. And so I would highly recommend you to just get into it and just start, because it really helps in everyday life. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. So this final question is from Nelly, and she asks, what's worked out best? And that's quite a difficult one because I've planted so many different things. But I would probably have to say either the lettuce, which did really well, or most likely the tomatoes. And even though I don't like tomatoes, they did so well. They literally gave like 100 tomatoes over just 2 plants. So it was extraordinary. So they would probably have to be the things that did the best. I hope that answers your question. So I just want to say a big thank you again to everyone who subscribed, and I'll be answering the other 8 questions in a part 2 Q&A, probably sometime next week. If that be during the week or on the weekend, I'll have to see. But I just want to thank everyone who did ask me questions, and I got around 25 or 30 responses, but some of the questions were either inappropriate or I felt that I was unable to answer them. So sorry for that, but I hope that for the people's questions whom I have answered in this video and in the future video, that it will be very helpful. So, and also I'm going to start doing a Q&A every 100 subscribers or 50 subscribers, depending on how it goes. So let's try and build towards those milestones. So that'll be very, very impressive if I can get to them. And yeah, enjoy my videos. There'll be another one coming out on Sunday and another one coming out the week after that. And yeah, thank you again and enjoy the rest of your week, and yeah, goodbye.